What's your name?
I'm Jacob.
Jacob, are you ready to tell us what you're building?
Hell yeah.
All right, you have a minute. Tell us, what are you building?
In 2008, 50,000 YouTube subscribers had already discovered Justin Bieber way before Scooter Braun and Usher swooped in to sign JB to a record label deal. But we don't know anything about Justin's early supporters because they were powerless to invest in a rising star. Never again will a YouTube subscriber, or anyone for that matter, be powerless to invest in social media stars. Introducing Creator Stockx, a stock exchange for investing in influencers, powered by the financial value of data. You see, YouTube and other tech platforms earn $400 billion a year off the backs of consumers' data. Yet you never saw a penny of that.
That's a minute. So we need a round of applause.
Now is the time to reclaim the financial power of your data and to invest in social media stars.
All right. Investing in social media stars. Interesting.
The storytelling, the narrative there, the using the Justin Bieber, I think that was actually very effective and painted a picture in the 60 seconds. I think I pretty much grokked what you're going after. So well done on 60 seconds, clear vision.
Yeah. But to tie the stories you're tying together about data, I need to hear more about what you're building, because those are two very disparate thoughts. This idea of there are influencers and they could be valuable, and the access to that value is locked behind being Scooter Braun or a talent agent. It's like pitches for people investing in startups. Only VCs and accredited investors can invest in startups. So you have analogies that are floating in my head, but then you transition to this consumers need to reclaim the value of their data, and that's how we're going to allow you to pay for it. And so I started to imagine some things, but I don't get it still. So connect those thoughts by telling us more about what it is.
Great. We're tokenizing and democratizing the value of data upfront to every user who joins our platform in a new currency. That currency is what prices our innovative, frictionless follow to pay button. So today you're following on so many different applications. The value that is being created by the network that you're building and the activity and the engagement that you're providing is just going to the overlords. We're actually accounting for every follow in that token that we democratize to everyone up front. So there'll be as frictionless an experience to following in our Patreon meets Robinhood type of app. It's more like Robinhood. There's no media in our app because we don't want to compete with TikTok, YouTube, or any other media platform. But every follow actually has an accounting behind it that you don't even have to worry about. The end result, every profile is a property with a passive recurring income stream that anyone can invest in. So you might only have 100 followers because you're not a big star, but you can invest in the next Justin Bieber.
Okay, questions.
Yeah.
The tokenization process. Blockchain?
Not initially. Maybe in the future.
Okay.
No.
If you've been to the feedback loop or watched it, you might know I'm not just a skeptic of Web3. I'm I'm on the crusade to make founders stop.
You know what's the most successful token in the last 10 years?
Tell me.
AWS credits.
Okay.
It doesn't require blockchain to be a token. So
Don't
we're not on
use the word token and don't eventually be on blockchain. I encourage founders to do this because usually it's infecting some other idea, right? And so 2 weeks ago, a founder got up here and he had this You will be able to visualize furniture. Even had a working prototype. Visualize furniture in a space and buy this furniture and blah, blah, blah. But it started 3 years ago as some NFT thing that's now an art thing, whatever. It's like, okay, great. Now I'll never use your product because it's associated with what has only been a grift for A16Z and some other venture capitalists. I call it like I see it.
I totally agree with you on that.
So then please, anyway, so that aside for a second, my other questions, let's get to the rest of your product. Users' financial data is not going to the cloud. It's being monetized in the form of advertisements or subscriptions, which then are used to pay out these creators. In turn, these creators create content that those consumers consume. That's just a fact. So let's get a more practical version of what you're talking about. Why do you think we're not getting full value in the form of content? Because I would say, no, when YouTube takes my data and resells it to an advertiser, that advertiser is the one paying the creator to create more content for me. So, but I could agree with you that you think there's some arbitrage in how much data or the format or the function, but let's talk in those terms.
It's just about financial market structure. Today, the financial markets don't exist at the level of the end user to give you the proper financial value of your data. But because the world works the way it does, you are getting a fair economic utility value of your data in the form of content, personalization. Even the ads are fantastic. I'm buying probably this t-shirt from the ad on Instagram. But if you set up a market for 5 billion internet users to be agents, financial agents in the marketplace of data, actually, we increase the size of the value of data, the data market size.
I want to take you out of your sell mode.
Yeah, I know.
Let's get real for a second.
What data?
What are you talking? Yeah. And, or why is this not about the value of an influencer is going to be X and only their talent agent and them can value from it? But if I could invest in Taylor Swift when she was young, I'd be making a lot of money now. By the way, I wouldn't believe in that pitch, but I don't believe in this one either. And I'm confused as to the middle ground. What are you talking about? Like, are you saying that pitch? Is that what the product is really? Because this whole data thing is confusing me.
Data is massively undervalued today.
Says who?
If you look at the end user license agreement of any startup company that you join, like app, Meta, TikTok, X, YouTube, it's the largest transfer of wealth that's ever happened in humanity underneath your nose that you agree to. It's a $0 perpetual monthly license for your data. $0 is the right price.
What data? What data? My watch history?
I mean, you know when your phone's listening to you and then they put an ad.
Your phone doesn't listen to you. Your phone does not listen to you. Don't say things that aren't true.
Everyone knows their phones listen to them. You hear it anecdotally.
Who believes that their phone listens to you? Okay, those of you who raise your hand, stay after this and come find me so I can convince you out of your nonsense.
As you could tell, people on camera, half the audience raised
Not half, about the third. And by the way, the third that did are wrong. We would know this by now. Phones are operating systems that can be looked into. We can see packets. We can see what's going into the cloud, coming out of it. Thousands of engineers at different companies would have to be in a grand conspiracy where no one has leaked verifiable proof that things are listening. You know what happens instead? It's correlation of advertiser or advertisee preferences.
That's what a normal person means when they say my phone is listening to me. You're saying the same thing. They agree with you. I agree with you.
Don't say the lie then.
It's not the lie.
Don't
Was
say
the
the
2020
lie.
election rigged? Was the 2020 election rigged?
Was the 2020 election? No.
Okay, there was a total thumb on the scale by big tech that swayed information across the whole world, and it was rigged. It was rigged 100%.
Okay, circling back.
So let's go back, and I'll tell you,
Hold on.
messing with the data in the world.
You have a great... No, I'm not going to go.
Okay, I need you to explain to me, like I'm a 8th grader or a 8-year-old. Like, instead of using the words data and like platform, I need you to explain to me like very literally what you mean, because I don't understand.
So let's take Patreon, for example. If an influencer has 100,000 TikTok followers or YouTube subscribers, they might try and open up a Patreon to get their top most engaged fans to support them. But the average conversion of your audience onto Patreon is less than 1%. we believe that direct payments from your audience is a great monetization system, but we feel like it's only penetrated 1% of your audience, as we see on Patreon. Now, if everyone is worth ARPU, average revenue per user, to Meta and Alphabet, $500 per year as an American, not for everyone in the world, just as North Americans, why can't we somehow tie that value back to the consumer, make them agents, economic agents in the marketplace for their data, and then use that as
What does that mean?
fodder?
What does that mean? You just said make them economic agents.
Well, very simply, do you see a penny financial value, not economic value?
No, don't ask me a question. Don't pose a version of the world or world build. What do you mean when you say you're going to turn them into an economic agent? What do you literally mean?
Yeah. So when I was a slave...
Don't tell a story.
Yeah. I mean, not engaging in a bartering transaction, but engaging in a financial transaction where I get
What is
something.
the financial transaction? So
It's
I
a
pay
new end user license agreement
to what?
to
The perpetual
our
revenue
app
of
for
an
the creator
individual.
Stockx
Okay.
that funds people with tokens on a weekly
So I'm
licensing basis.
the creator and you're investing. You know, I've got a YouTube channel and we just launched
No,
another
the
show
end
last
user
week
license
and we're going to launch
agreement
more.
is for
So-
every end user. It's not just for influencers.
What?
The end user license agreement that I'm describing is for every user who signs into this new platform. You know, like it doesn't matter if you're Taylor Swift on Instagram or
Okay, but
me
I'm still
on
saying
Instagram.
I'm me on YouTube. You're going to invest in me. You're paying $5 for a token. What then happens? What's our relationship? What's the relationship, the economic relationship?
Everyone has 10 million shares, even the normal user, not even an
Sure.
influencer. And half of those shares are on the stock exchange. So if I buy 10% of your shares, then every Monday, which is the payment heartbeat of our system, I will gain as a dividend 10% of your follow income.
Got it. So this is the old invest and get, an income share that happened a few years ago. But again,
I never seen it before.
got it.
I went from totally understanding the pitch in the first 60 seconds to still kind of not being clear. I actually thought you were initially pitching the notion of it was a stock exchange and you could bet on someone becoming a bigger star over time. And there was some correlation to the data of how many Instagram followers they had in YouTube and that sort of stuff. So I was actually off on a completely different company concept for most of this. And then I'm getting closer to understanding, but I'm still not quite there with what we're doing. And where this money's coming from and who's funding this pool. When I sign up as a user, do I need to give you money?
It's a freemium business model. So everyone gets income from their followers for free, and they pay they pay their followers gratis. They don't need to be paying the app, but for premium exchange features, you can upgrade and pay SaaS on a recurring monthly basis to be more of a super user. And also, for example, investing in indexes of creators would require, the premium.
So there were a couple startups that did this, I want to say in the 2018 to 2019 era. This was at the same time as Lambda School popularized income share agreements for coding boot camps. Are you familiar with income share agreements? So rather than paying a coding bootcamp a tuition, the Lambda School model, which we're inspired by in some ways, we're a talent agent for people in tech, is don't pay me tuition. Instead, you're going to pay me 7% or 17% of what you make after going through our bootcamp for the following 2 years afterwards. And afterwards, several startups spawned that were essentially investing people in the same way. It wasn't tokenization. There are legal issues with income share agreements. There are probably legal issues with this too. But that's probably not why it didn't work. There are probably other reasons it didn't work. But essentially what you're saying is, hey, there's an investable or many investable assets in here. We're going to tokenize the version of your income. The questions I would then have for you that we don't have the time for about the legality, the rights, the changes that happen over time, the interchangeability of these tokens, the rights of these tokens to act upon the user's agency and decisions. But I have a question for you that I'm going to end us with. Do you think the 2024 election is rigged?
I do think that there is media bias, but I don't think it's rigged.
So you don't think the 2024 election is rigged in favor of Donald Trump?
For example, I do believe that the debate was one-sided. And
So when Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion and has turned it into a right-wing propaganda platform where every single day after saying Twitter should be neutral, and the fact the executives at Twitter talk to the federal government makes it not neutral, it should be a more neutral place. And he bought it, and he's the most followed account. He's the auto-suggested account. He's boosted in his own platform and from an algorithmic basis. He posts memes and jokes, and he's boosting, and he says Donald Trump must win the presidency. The 2024 election is not rigged to you.
X is one out of many platforms. I think all the platforms are doing a better job of trying to toe a more balanced line compared to where they were behaving.
So do you think the
4
word
years
rig,
ago.
considering you just said, hey, there's an intent there that they didn't have and they adjusted some strategies, do you think the word rigged is appropriate to use?
It's a loaded word.
It's the same way you loaded the phone is listening to you. And I'd suggest to you, and I get to end the show with this, so I'm going to end the show with this. Do not be irresponsible either in your notions about your own company or the notions of politics and society. You can make your point without suggesting to people an alternative version of the world that doesn't exist. Because the problem is when we allow language like this to control our culture, we wind up in a culture that no longer shares facts and realities and only shares the notion that everything else is antagonistic and intentionally malicious toward our individual interest, which isn't true. Thank you very much for sharing your story.
Thank you.